Okay, on to video number 4, turn number 10, playing our anniversary 1942 setup with our 4-turn game plan revised. If you don't know what that is, nip back to video number 1 in this series, you can get the details from there. Before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There's a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare $1, euro, yen, yak or British pound you could send to them, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So looking at our control board over here, we can see that the Axis forces are on 6 British cities, the Allied are on 12, one short of the projected win of 13 cities that we're going for before we end this video. More of that in a minute. Looking there in Central Europe, that has been the absolute bugbear nightmare for the Axis players. Because of the behaviours prescribed by our 4-turn game plan, Italy for most of the time have been aggressive, and an aggressive Italy with the amount of money that they've had have not helped out the Axis cause in one way or t'other. So the other thing which is combined to be really hampering the Axis forces was over here in Germany, or the German forces themselves. They were getting the worst of the dice rolls time and time again. I'm not going to be whinging about how bad the dice rolls were. It's just how it happened this time round. Axis were rolling poorly, or the other side were over-rolling. To hamper the Germans even more was their factory. You can see it's still in flames over there. Somehow, the anti-aircraft gun hit one bomber out of many attacks made by the British and American bombers into there. Indeed, only one bomber was lost, but compounding that difficulty was every time the bombers tried to roll their damage dice, they were rolling 3s and 4s all the time. And I think maybe one attack was what you consider to be a failure, just with, say, 1 or 2 IPCs damage. That has been the major problem for Germany, has been the funding this time around, along with no support from their Italian partners over there. And indeed, when it came to the middle of turn number 9, the Brits smashed into Germany itself. But when the Americans hit Italy, they rolled in there from a position of weakness, I would say. Italy are now out of the game. So as we are only following Japan, it's not going to last very long, I shouldn't think. So there's no point flogging a dead horse here. I think this upcoming video will be shorter than the rest of them, probably with plenty of cutting and shutting, and maybe even skipping a turn or two until we get all these American guys from their west coast going into Japan that way, and guys from the Allied forces coming eastwards and hitting Japan from 2 sides. So rather than mucking around too much, I will see you when something significant happens against the Japanese somewhere along the lines. I'll see you in a bit though. Okay, we've got to the end of turn number 10 now. I did think there was going to be some cutting and shutting. It didn't seem appropriate to bring you the all the Japanese attacks. As far as the story is concerned, I'll just explain what happened. We took the guy from the Solomon Islands here on this transport ship backwards and forwards into Honolulu to grab that Victory City. It's not going to last long, but that's what we did. The guys who are up there in Manchuria had quite a hard tussle versus, I think it was 8 or 9 Soviet infantry in Buryatia. But they did get in there eventually, now threatening that American air wing is going to move. It's just has to. There's no way it can stay there. And the third battle that Japan took on was taking the guys in India versus that coalition of forces there in Persia. It was successful. The guys there fought valiantly, but eventually they did lose that place. But the Soviets have come back through since then on their turn and grabbed Persia back, allowing the 3 British bombers, because there were 3 in there, to fly all the way over from France, which is way over there, hit India, where they produced, I think it was a couple of tanks and an infantry on the last turn, hit them, knocked them all out, losing only 1 bomber themselves, and land themselves back into Persia. As you can see, all of Central Europe is done now. Germany and Italy capitulated in their attempts to grab something back. It didn't last that long. There was enough UK forces in there to do massive amount of damage, and they started rolling their tanks now back through Bulgaria, trying to come down here and make sure that India isn't retaken by Japan for very long anyway. I can't see it lasting. They might be able to purchase some stuff in there, but obviously there's enough Soviets coming through now to try to knock those on the head with as fast as they can. The Brits have bought themselves 5 bombers because they've got plenty of money sloshing around, and all their fleet now is heading that way to come across the other side of the board and end up over in the Pacific later on. And the Americans are moving that way too as fast as they can. The fleet that was there in Sea Zone 12, that got lost in the battle with the remaining Axis Navy that was in Sea Zone 14 or 13 as they moved in, trying to do something with their fleet. It was very, very messy, that's all I would say. But there is one battle we can bring you. Finally, getting around to the point of this insert here, we're going to be using the Americans. We are following the Japanese player, but it's one big attack into this Sea Zone number, whatever it is, 53 around Honolulu, the Hawaiian Islands, because the Americans want this place back again. What they can do is take these bombers here. They can fly 1, 2, 3, 4, hit this area, 5, 6, and land back into the Caroline Islands. So as all these 4 bombists getting the handout ski from that the next door to Japan, I'll just lay them over because they want to fall over anyway. And we know where they can end up. This fleet here is all going to come through, along with this one and a couple of fighters here. They can go 1, 2 and hit the mainland because we're going to use the fighters versus the guy there, along with 1 tank on the transport ship. We've got no more infantry in place to be able to help that attack out with, so we might be sacrificing one of those fighters. Yeah, it's a bit of a nasty loss there, but it's a need-must attack as far as the American player is concerned. So, Japan are defending with an awful lot, but what they have got is got some good numbers behind them. And America's buy, actually, not often you see this, they're buying 2 more battleships and a couple of tanks. America have to buy the expensive stuff. So let's just start rolling this attack out. Enough of the waffling. We have got 1, 2, 3 battleships and 4 bombers. They all go in at 4s. 7 dice at 4, which are going to try to smash this Navy fleet here in one roll. You never know your luck. And they've scored 4 hits out of that. That's pretty significant. And there's 1 cruiser in there as well that can go in out of 3. We use a lucky dice for why nots indeeds. And we've actually scored the 5th hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow-wee. That transport will go as well later on. But 1 hit can be taken on there. In reply, the Japanese battleship is defending at a 4, scores no hits, and then we've got their 4 cruisers all going in at 3s in defence, and there's 2 hits been done to the Americans. I've actually forgot to roll that aircraft carrier, didn't I? Because that gets a shot in it as well. We've moved it into place for that. But anyway, 2 damage off of the Americans. We roll that 1 American aircraft carrier out of sequence. Well, it's just called a hit. Man alive, that's a bit embarrassing for me. But it is what it is. We did say that we're going to take that out of sequence. That means that hit goes on to that one there. They all do go under on this turn. So, end of that turn, even though I got it entirely wrong with my dice rolling, all those guys go. All these guys get righted. And we can use these 2 fighters plus the tank to have a go at this 1 guy in Honolulu to try to take it back again for the American cause. 2 fighters will roll in at 3s and the tank rolls in at 3 as well. And they've all missed. The 1 Japanese guy there, I'll give him a lucky dice for this for sure. Defending at a 2, he knocks out 1 of the planes because we have to invade there. We're going to go again with the American fighter and the tank at 3. This time we knocked the guy out in there. Can he do anything else? Another lucky dice for him. Defending at a 2 and missing this time. So Honolulu falls back into the American hands. And we can adjust our cities back up to the 12 we've got now. We've only got to find 1 more. But that will be it for turn number 10. Excuse my mistakes, they just happen sometimes. I'll see you in turn number 11 coming up shortly. Okay, on to turn 11 with Japan, and there is an outside chance the Allied could steal the victory here. Well, they're just steamrolling the victory actually on turn number 11, getting 13, maybe even a 14th victory city on this turn. It's an outside chance. The dice rolls have to go pretty well for the Allied to be able to do that, but we'll see how it all pans out. Japan, with their behaviour of tending to be purchasing expensive units, are getting themselves 3 fighters, a cruiser and an infantry guy. Those two are going to go into Season 62 or into Japanese island itself, and the 3 fighters are going to go into India just there. We're going to take this 1 fighter from Burma as well. It means we have 4 really good defensive units versus just 3 Soviet artillery, and a couple of British bombers can come in, do some damage. Yeah, they possibly will do, I would think. And we think we can get some other air units down there. Perhaps that 1 bomber might be able to reach India. I haven't fully done the counting yet. We've got our 2 minutes of thinking time as our behaviour dictates for that as well, hampering us all over the place. We're going to be making mainly non-com moves, although these ones here are going to be in the combat phase. This 1 guy from Buryat is going to move into Soviet Far East. 1 tank is going to take itself into these 2 states, Stanov, Sherbet and Yakut SSR, grabbing 3 IPCs in total into the Japanese economy, 3 away from the Soviet economy. It will help out to a minor degree, and really that's all that's going to be happening in the combat phase. Non-com, 1 fighter goes into India, I've mentioned that before, and we're shuffling these guys down here. We're taking 1 tank from Buryatia, it's going to go 2 spaces into Jiangsu. Then the tank from there goes into Kwangtung. So we've now got some pretty reasonable hardware should an American invasion hit the China mainland. We're taking this whole fleet along with this guy here in 62. It's all going to come down into Sea Zone 50 for protectionist purposes. Taking these 2 guys from Jiangsu to bulk up Manila. Now that's now pretty hefty. I was thinking about taking the artillery piece as well, but I think we want the tank onto Philippines for the extra protection that it gives to it. It's a big number. And we can move these 2 fighters in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, easy peasy. That's going to now be a much harder job for America to get into that victory city. They can't reach Japan itself, although it does look pretty bereft as it is. We'll count the fighter out while we're here. The bomber while we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The bomber can land into there as well. And so whilst the bomber doesn't defend particularly highly, or it defends only at a 1, isn't it, in this version, it's another unit that can absorb a hit should those Soviets get any kind of magical rolls. I can't see that happening there. But I think the big battle would be whether the Americans get Philippines back this turn. Obviously sacrificing loads of bombers en route should they do that, to load in infantry and artillery in there with their 1 transport ship in the Hawaiian Islands. Let's just see how this plays out for the Soviet turn. Let me just tidy things up and I'll get back to you in a second. Okay, everything's tidied up. Now we're on with the Soviet versus the Japanese. The Soviets have purchased themselves a fighter and half a dozen infantry artillery combinations, though they wouldn't mind getting some more T-34 tanks, especially down here in the Caucasus factory. Their behaviour is purchasing the middly and cheap. So they have to really just stick with that idea. The cheapest air unit is the fighter, and they've got infantry artillery. They start rolling this way and perhaps down that way. Up north it would be non-com moves. This tank rolling into Evenki, and these guys here into Urals to try to stem this Japanese flow. I don't think the Japanese are going to go much further forward than Yakut on their own with that 1 tank unit. But the Soviets are going to be attacking. We were thinking about perhaps moving these guys here from Kazakh into the Chinese mainland, but I don't like crossing this border either way around, so I'm sticking with my own preferences with that. But we can do this attack here. We've got these 3 Soviet artillery pieces versus all this Japanese air. It's a big ask for the Soviets, but if you don't ask, you don't get. Let's just start rolling these 3 lucky dice for the Soviet artillery pieces at 2s. And they've scored 2 massive hits straight away. Wow. We can absorb 1 with the bomber and take 1 off of that stack of 4 fighters that are there initially. In reply, Japan will get their 4 fighters, all defending at 4s, and their bomber defending at 1s. See how it goes. And that is, I believe, just the 2 hits from 2 of those fighters. So 2 of those artillery pieces come off the board, as does that, as does that. And, well, the Soviets are supposed to be skirmishy, but we are trying to win this game here. There is an outside chance, so why not take that outside chance? We give the Soviets 1 lucky dice for its artillery piece. And it scores another hit. The lucky dice are just superb. We like our lucky dice sometimes. Not for the Japanese, which we are, so I should actually be celebrating that. We got 3 fighters left in there, though, trying to hit that 1 artillery piece, defending at 4s, and absolutely smash that thing out of the Indian Peshwari border, whatever you want to call it. I could be totally wrong with my geography there. I apologise if I am. So let's just get that off the board there, and we'll look at the I think it's going to be the Brits' turn come afterwards, because Germany have got nothing they can do, I don't think, which would be these bombers probably hitting Calcutta as well. And then after that, I suspect we'll be on to the Americans having a pop there from these guys that are in Hawaiian Islands, coming through 2 spaces and trying to take the Philippines out. Let me just get things tidied up first, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, quick fire turn for the Brits, and they're going to be making a very unsubtle purchase of just fighters. Anything that's fleet-wise and ground unit-wise that can get onto those boats that are up there in Sea Zone 7 are going to be heading across the Atlantic Ocean, Panama Canal, and getting themselves into the Pacific to help out that battle over there. The only attack that the Brits are making are their 2 bombers going versus these 2 fighters that the Japanese have got, and their anti-aircraft gun. We roll the anti-aircraft gun with 2 lucky dice, see if they can knock the bombers out first. And they've knocked out 1 of the bombers. Oops, that's an oops moment for the Brits. And we can get on with their attack into India with their falling over bombist. 1 bomber for the Brits rolls in at a 4. Scores a hit, and the 2 fighters that Japan have got go in at 4s, and they've knocked the other bomber out as well, so nothing really happens there that's spectacular, should we say. Let's just take that off the board, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, we've all tidied up from the British turn now. There, all that fleet that's in Sea Zone number, whatever it is there, 11 I think it is, are making their way through the Panama Canal there. They're getting themselves into the action in the Pacific sometime, probably 2 turns or 3 turns time from now. Not that we're going to see that, I don't think. It's all going to happen down here. We had a thought for the Americans. They're buying themselves some expensive tanks and some infantry units to meet up with their transport ships. I had, even though it's just the 2 minutes of rash thinking time, they had a big fleet here in the Hawaiian Islands. There was a chance of bringing that down 1-2 zones, having a bash at Australia to repatriate that for the Brits. The bombers couldn't get involved. All we'd be able to do was move this 1 tank unit plus the 1 fighter over the mainland. It was a bit of a risky ask, that, even though it was a very simple battle, 2 versus 2 units and the anti-aircraft gun. It would put the American fleet out of place for later on in the game, beyond our 13 victory cities that we're playing to here. But we are going to be taking on this big battle into the Philippines. It's a bit of an ask for American, but I think we got enough numbers to do that if we're lucky with the dice rolls. We've got these 4 bombists. They can all fly 1, 2, 3, hit Philippines and land back in there again. The 1 fighter that was on the carrier in the Hawaiian Islands can go 1, 2, 3, bash Philippines and land back on the carrier in the Philippine Island zone. And this fleet has all come around through Sea Zone 51 into the Philippine zone here, 50, whatever it is. I can't see my numbers. So that's the American invasion fleet. This is the Japanese defensive fleet we got in there. Their 1 submarine, we'll give them a lucky dice, can do a surprise strike because there's no American destroyers in there. And at a 4, the submarine completely misses. Are we in shot on our dice? We're not actually in shot on our dice, so let me just move that around for that. We got now the American invasion. We got their 1, 2, 3 battleships all at 4, and their 1 cruiser at 3. Plus, we can get a lucky dice for their aircraft carrier. Mustn't forget their lucky chocolate 1s. And that's a fairly poor hit for the Americans, I would suggest. Just the 2 hits done there, 1 from the battleship, 1 from the cruiser. Take 1 on the Japanese battleship and take their submarine out of the equation. In reply from their submarines already had a pop. We've got the battleship at a 4 and 2 cruisers at a 3. And just one hit on America land. America got these 3 battleships. They can absorb plenty of hits before it starts to really hurt them. And we can go again with the American attack. We've got the 3, and the 1. Right, 3 at 4, 1 at 3. And there's 2 hits again by battleships. Nothing else anybody's supporting. So these 2 cruisers will go away from Japan. They'll have a 4 and 2 at 3. Their defensive rolls. And score 2 more hits, in fact 3 hits off of America land. That's going to hurt them by a little bit. They can absorb 2 of those on battleships and finally lose the cruiser. And that goes out of the way now. And now it's just really a matter of knocking out this one Japanese battleship. So as we have our 3 battleships going in at 4 and our 1 aircraft carrier, couldn't do anything. It doesn't need to. That's been absolutely smashed out of the water. The 1 Japanese battleship gets its defensive roll at a 4 and misses, and so these 2 transport ships go as well, and we can rewrite all our American battleships in that sea zone, number 50, with our 1 transport ship, bringing these 2 guys off of the Caroline Islands, and then we can roll this land battle now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bombers plus 1 fighter. So 4 bombers will all go in at 4s. 1 fighter can go in at 3. And we have infantry artillery combinations from the Americans at 2s. 4s, 3s and 2s. Looking for 1 massive roll first up. And that looks pretty good. There's 1, 2, 3 hits from that. That's from the 3, that's from at the 2. That is 4 damage straight away from Japan. It's going to be the cheaper and less hitting units. We got infantry, 2 of those, an artillery piece and the tank. They're all going to get their hit backness going first. This really is a very important role to see whether this game goes on for 1 more turn. We've got the 2 fighters that were rolled in at 4s in defence. We have a tank going in at 3 in defence, and then these 3 units there will be in at 2s. So 4s, 3s and 2s. Doesn't look that good. They're the 4s, the 3 has scored a hit and 2 at 2s, so it's 3 off of the Americans. They can absorb all of that without hitting their land units. So 3 hits would take 1 fighter and 2 bombers off of the American attack. These guys all go. It's I'd like to sort of put up the tension and say it's a bit 50-50 touch and go here, but really the Americans got the advantage. They got their 2 bombers that go in at 4s on black dice, infantry artillery at 2s on red dice. Try to take out those 2 planes. And we scored 1 hit from the bomber and 1 hit from an infantry artillery piece. Both those fighters go. They can only roll 2 dice in defence. We give them lucky dice. Why not indeed? It's appropriate to the end of this game at 4s and score 2 hits. Lucky dice have given us a spectacular finish. 2 of those bombers go. The 2 fighters from Japan go, and America land, invade Manila. Just like that. That is them grabbing the final victory city, giving us our 13 victory cities at the end of the turn, which means that the Allied forces have won the game. Odd things do happen when you're playing with the 4-turn revised game plan. I've had a great laugh. I'm sure you've enjoyed that. I'm going to be playing this game on past this video, probably to the surrender with honour 15 British cities apiece, rather than just the 13 British cities that you've seen there, because I really want to see how this British fleet managed to get across the Atlantic and do whatever they can do, and the Americans flooding back in across the Pacific and repatriating China for the Chinese guys. But that's it. I've had great fun with it. I hope you try this 4-turn game plan, and that'll do. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, be cool.